Welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I'm your guide and host through the show. And today we have our monthly series, which is called, I'm so sorry, Chris. I just lost our sound. I'm going to do a take two here for everyone watching live. Sometimes that happens. Here we go. Once. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris, and I am your guide and host through the show. Today is our monthly series called Closing Time with Chris Linsell from The Close. Now, this is a partnership between Keeping It Real and theclose.com. And let me tell you about The Close. Close.com is the kind of real estate website designed to give agents, teams, and brokerages actionable strategic insight from industry professionals. They cover real estate marketing, lead generation, technology, and team building strategies from the perspective of working agents and brokers who want to take their business to the next level. Now, please visit theclose.com. That's THECLOSE.com, and read their articles, subscribe to their newsletter. Also check out The Close Pro, which is their subscription-based platform, which we'll also mention here shortly. But with us, as always, is Chris Linsell. He is a staff writer and real estate coach for The Close. Chris is The Close's resident expert on real estate topics ranging from marketing, lead gen, transactional best practices, and everything in between. He's a licensed agent in the state of Michigan. Chris has been part of hundreds of transactions from modest rural starter homes to massive waterside compounds. He also is a real estate coach, and he is constantly working with teams and individuals and top producers to help everyone grow their production. But when he isn't writing or helping coaching agents, you'll find Chris fly fishing or performing on the stage of his community theater's production. Chris, welcome once again to Keeping It Real. We're excited to have you.
DJ, it's time to talk about real estate. I've been looking forward to this all week long. And I think you're going to get an earful today because I'm a little fired up, getting ready to take a trip, cover a conference, and I'm just so jazzed to be talking to people about real estate. You're going to get the front end of all this fire today. I hope you're ready for me.
We are ready, and we should mention that as this is being recorded, and it probably will happen after this is released, but Chris is gearing up to speak at Inman Connect, which is actually coming up in just a few days, which is a big honor, and we're very proud to be affiliated with Chris because obviously he is a renowned speaker, and not only is he doing that, but this will come out in time. If you do want to meet Chris in person, he will also be at the National Association of Realtor conference this November and in San Diego, and I will also be there just walking around. I don't get to speak, but Chris does get to speak, and so he's going to be there, and he would love to say hi to you. If you are a fan of theclose.com, and you absolutely should be because all their articles are amazing, definitely consider saying hi to Chris if you're at the NAR conference this November.
Yeah, totally. And if you're an East Coaster and you don't want to make it out, if you're in New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, come to Triple Play in Atlantic City. It's going to be in December. I'm going to be doing 2 presentations there. One of them is going to be for continuing education. So not only can you check something off your list, you can also listen to the Bearded Wonder kind of rattle on about stuff for a while. So come take a look. I'm excited to talk to everybody. I'm excited to talk to you today, DJ. What are we going to talk about today?
So we are going to talk about a couple of things. And by the way, I really need to give Chris the credit for all 3 of these topics because he always comes prepared. So if you are considering going to watch him speak, if you saw him speak this year at Inman, which again, by the time you hear this, he will have already done so, or over at Triple Play, or at NAR, this is why we love having him because he always brings right context. So we really had 3 things that Chris had on his brain, and he has some insight into all 3. I'll hopefully prod him with some questions, but we have 3 things. We'll just start with the first one now, which is pretty big news. I don't know that it's got as much press in the agent community as I sort of thought it would. I'm sort of in my own little silo here, sit at a desk all day, but I do communicate with realtors every single day. We have 800 of them here at our own company. And I really don't hear people talking about this, which is a bit surprising. But big news around Zillow, which is they have paused temporarily, we believe for now, their iBuying program through the end of 2021. So just a couple of months here pausing. This is a big shift for them. And I haven't really been paying attention to the chatter on some of the online forums that realtors frequent to sort of get a sense of what their thoughts are. But let's talk about what's going on and maybe some ideas of why we think it might be happening.
Yeah, so this is important. This is an important story, and not enough people are talking about it, and almost nobody is talking about it in the correct context, as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned. So here's just a quick bit of insight. If you're not hip to the iBuying program, essentially, Zillow is buying properties. They do kind of forced appreciation, forced improvement on there, then they resell them. They collect a fee on any opportunity they have to collect a fee, if like we all do. Zillow, love them or hate them, is like so deep into this industry on so many different levels. It just makes sense that this was a natural step for them. There are a lot of folks who are feeling kind of perplexed, a little concerned that Zillow is pausing this because they think maybe this is indicative of the real estate market at large, that there might be problems here. But let me just kind of call out a quote I read from Jeremy Waxman, who is the COO of
Mhm.
Zillow. He has essentially said, we have not been, and I'm speaking as Zillow, we have not been exempt from the market capacity issues that the economy at large has been facing. And we have an operational backlog for renovations, for closings, and for all the different things that it takes to get these transactions across the finish line. Right. So Zillow is not saying anything really specific here, other than we got work and we don't have people to do it, right?
Yeah.
Which is not uncommon across the economy right now. A lot of people are finding these sorts of labor shortages to be a problem. We are interrupting this, the supply chain of human capital here across our economy in a lot of different industries. This is not a shocker to me, but what I think people need to keep in mind here is that iBuying as a whole has accelerated by, I mean, it's on a magnitude of, it's like multiple magnitudes through 2021, and is expected to continue to crush in 2022. Just because Zillow is not doing this doesn't mean we should think that this is going away, that this is the ship is changing direction here. Open Door, another really big iBuying platform, has one, poked fun a little bit at Zillow on this, just sending out a tweet that says, we're open for business, come on over. And two, the estimates for iBuyer inventory for 2022 actually went up last week. So don't read the tea leaves too hard on this. If anything, I think Zillow is just being strategic here. They are covering the bases. They're cashing in the chips that they've got right now. They're going to regroup probably Q2 of 2022 and see where the landscape looks like. I'm not reading anything into this other than this is normal economy effects happening here.
Yeah, I would, again, not being as knowledgeable about the industry, of course, as you and many other experts. But my intuition is telling me, and having visited Zillow's New York headquarters, and having met with some of their senior leaders, not the very, very top, but people who seem to know sort of the direction of the company. I know that it is their corporate maxim, and I used to work in technology, so I can appreciate this, and I was able to sort of see that. I believe it was a very authentic sort of conversation where I sat down with them, and they said, our customer experience is everything. It's beyond everything. If we don't provide a great experience for the customer, then they're never coming back to our site, which of course is sort of, just tech 101 for customer service, but in user experience. So if that's the case, where the iBuying sort of process is jammed because of a labor shortage or for whatever reason in that sort of chain of processes, they're going to pull it, because they have the top spot for online real estate public access, and they don't want anything to disrupt that. And it probably makes sense for them just to pause iBuying if they're not going to deliver that top experience. So again, that's a really sort of obvious thing. But I suspect there's a lot of realtors that go, hey, they're listening to us, and we don't, a lot of realtors don't like Zillow for various reasons, and maybe some are celebrating, thinking, oh, now they want to put more focus back on the agent partnerships. I'm not so sure if that factors in. I read that same article, or that same quote from Jeremy Waxman, and it seems that unless he's not being fully transparent, it appears that a labor shortage would make sense. I know a lot of restaurants are dealing with that, even here in Chicago and across the country. We just had a top pizza place, one of the very top pizza places in Chicago, on all the lists of best places to eat for pizza. It's a nice place, and they put out they had to close down temporarily. And the guy said, I've never in my life put out an ad for a server. He goes, we even pay more than most places. And I got one response in 30 days. And so, that's just one little example, but there's labor shortages going on all over.
Yeah, it's so wild, and it's not a shock to think that we'd start to see the effects of this in our industry. In fact, if you really think about it, seeing these ancillary kind of orbital businesses and business models to the traditional residential real estate transaction, that makes sense that we would start to see these effects in those orbital industries first. So, the only thing that I think real estate agents should be kind of perking their ears up about this is if this is a systemic thing, meaning it's not just a temporary blip in labor. This is becoming a systemic availability of resources here. We may see the iBuyer model shift a little bit, at least when it comes from Zillow. And because Zillow really is the sun in the sky when it comes to online real estate presence, that could have some downstream effects for how iBuying is done in general. But at this point, I am not crying. The sky is not falling at all when it comes to iBuying. Real estate agents should expect that iBuying will be present and happening into 2022, certainly. And frankly, I think it's going to be Memorial Day where we see Zillow announce, hey, by the way, we're back iBuying. And by the way, we're going to be doing it in 15 more markets. So I guess only time will tell. But I think it's a little too soon to be crying wolf on that just yet.
I almost wonder too if it would be interesting in a future episode if you and I did some digging to see if there are any sort of reputable studies or estimations on what the profile of an iBuyer looks like, and we can determine whether there's any opportunity there for realtors to step in. At least if Zillow is temporarily pausing, there may be some action steps there to make sure you're having conversations with your clients about what iBuying is, the pros, the cons. Obviously for realtors, that's a really easy conversation to have around what iBuying is, which is really no different of a transaction than working with a realtor, except it's a little faster, and possibly the profit to the seller might be less. But to have that understanding so that they don't accidentally find themselves in browsing websites, maybe they have a parent that passes away and a home is left to them and they don't want it. And, now they're searching around for how do you get rid of a house. And I'm not going to call my realtor because they're here. They're not in Arizona and I'm in Michigan. So they might not even think to contact their realtor to ask about different options. So at the very least, I think it's a good opportunity to talk to your clients about, hey, you may have seen some information in the last few years about iBuying. And I just wanted to give you, again, it's a great reason to pick up the phone. I don't know that most of your clients will necessarily be that interested in that conversation, but it could be an article you send them. It could be, a text or something. But I think most of the public has no idea what iBuying is. I would say, unless you're in this industry, I don't know why you would even know about it unless you were exploring it. So it's a good thing to maybe bring up and educate your clients about.
100%. And, I think to me, that's the real value call out. If I'm an agent who's working in, every town USA, looking for value to provide my clients, this right here is one of the three key pieces of evidence that is, that successful top producers consistently deliver. This is evidence of, the three key pieces are evidence of knowledge, evidence of activity, and evidence of success. When you send a little article like this to your clients, and add 2 lines of your own kind of commentary and thought on this, you are in about 30 seconds demonstrating evidence of knowledge and evidence of activity. You know what's going on, and you're actively, investing in conversations that happen with your clients or your past clients or your prospects. These are the sorts of things that move your relationships down the pipeline. So there's a great article on Market Watch, on Wall Street Journal, on CNBC. Copy it, paste it, drop it into a text message or an email or a Facebook message, add 2 little sentences about what you think about this. You'll be shocked at how the conversation starts there.
Great. Well, let's shift gears and talk about tech prediction, or your top tech prediction for 2022. And I do want to just say that I have always, and again, just been read articles over many years, and it seems in about the last 5 years, I kept reading about this tech real estate bubble that was ready to burst. I never totally understood what that meant, but it seems to be that maybe the idea was that there are so many service providers in the real estate industry, a lot of tech service providers, and they're all competing. For our listeners, just think about the number of emails you get around CRMs, for example, or lead gen providers, or advertising companies that can help you with your advertising or marketing. Boy, it's almost endless and infinite, it seems. But if there has been a tech bubble burst, for real estate, I certainly haven't noticed it. It seems to be as strong as ever, and almost maybe more players enter the space. I know maybe we haven't seen a huge bubble bursting yet there, but let's talk about your number one pick for what you think is going to be most impactful to realtors and the public for 2022.
Yeah, you betcha. And you know what? I'm just going to go on record saying right now, this is a presentation that I'm just going to tease you a little bit. I'm going to give you some of the top level, and if you want to hear the really juicy bits, you're going to have to come see me at NAR, because I'm going to be presenting on this. But my prediction, my number one prediction for what's going to happen in 2022 from the desk of a real estate technologist, my number one prediction is that the company that will leverage the biggest impact on the residential real estate market in 2022, it's not Zillow, it's not some CRM, it's not even a real estate brokerage. The company with the biggest impact on the real estate market in 2022 is going to be Airbnb. And let me tell you why. The rise of civilian investing on platforms like Robinhood or Public or Fundrise or Webull, these have fueled the momentum that people have in the thought that I can be an investor. And it's not just in the stock market. Companies like Airbnb make it so we can be real estate investors. You don't have to work on Wall Street. You can live on Main Street, and you can be a real estate investor when you own an income property. And Airbnb they have not just greased the skids, they have dumped the grease all over the ground, and now they're swimming in it to get everyday mom and pop property owners to become property investors. And there is a significant on-ramp to Airbnb's growth in 2022. And I'm going to give you one stat to prove what I mean by this. First of all, I guess it's 2 stats. The first stat is Airbnb projects that they're going to add nearly 25% new inventory in the next 18 months. 25%. You think about, there's going to be for every 4 listings currently on Airbnb, we're going to see a new one in the next 18 months. Do we know if that's just US or if that, because I know certain other countries have been slowly being rolled out to Airbnb. So I didn't know if we knew if that was just US or if that was across the globe. That's a good question. I don't have a specific confirmation one way or the other on this, but I don't believe it is the way that I read this stat. It was not Airbnb is entering new markets.
Yeah.
It is Airbnb is building their inventory in existing markets.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. My sister has a property, an investment property that she bought. She is not a big real estate investor. In fact, this is. Well, I take it back. They have 2 properties now, but this again is not their primary job. Her and her husband have traditional jobs, and the Airbnb thing made so much sense for her because with where she lives, and this property is about a mile from where she lives in Tampa. But regardless, she's able to cover her monthly nut, her mortgage, and various expenses within. And again, it all depends on how much you put down and what your loan, you're borrowing, and all of that. But for putting a pretty minimal investment down, she was able with Airbnb to pay that monthly nut off in, I think it's 6 days a month. So even though it would be a lot less work, although it really isn't much work, she has a cleaning crew and basically just goes and takes a look at it every so often. Other than that, it runs itself essentially, and she doesn't even have to keep it fully staffed or fully occupied. So for her, it makes all the sense in the world to continue to do Airbnb versus long-term renters. And I suspect there's a lot of people that are wising up to that sort of same situation.
100%. And like, let's also add to this mix the fact that in 2022, we are expected, the world, travel organizations across the world are expecting travel to return to near pre-pandemic levels in 2022. And the website hospitalitytech.com rates the current consumer confidence in hotel safety at C-. Guess what the rating is for private vacation rentals?
That's got to be 90% plus, or I'm sorry, like an A or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be close. B plus.
Yeah.
People feel significantly more safe in private vacation rentals than they do in hotels and in traditional travel, which is going to drive the profitability of these short-term rentals up even higher than it is right now. We're going to see incredible demand. We're going to see continued reasons for property owners who are in the Airbnb system to never even think about selling. Why in the world would you sell like your sister, a near set it and forget it money making machine? In
Right.
fact, you would be silly if you are in a market right now where you're making money with Airbnb. You would be crazy if you didn't consider the idea of like, okay, well, what if I took my Airbnb profits from this year and I used them for a down payment for a second Airbnb? All of a sudden, I could be making twice this. Why stop there? Why not get 4 units or 10 units or 20 units? And the fact is, there is an incredible subculture that exists online that is all about Airbnb hacking, and it is growing like crazy. And I don't want to, again, I'm pretty fired up about this. I'm going to be speaking at length about this at both Triple Play and at NAR. So if you want to hear more about this, you want to argue with me and tell me I'm wrong and I'm crazy, please come do that, because there's a whole bunch more to the story. We're just at the tip of the iceberg here.
And if you aren't really that familiar with real estate investing, whether it is long-term or short-term like Airbnb, take a look at what house hacking is, because this is primarily being learned about online. This is, regular consumers hearing about this, watching discussions online, watching YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, and really trying to understand what this process is. And it's probably not spoken enough about from realtors to their clients, predominantly because we can understand that realtors may feel that is outside of sort of their daily to processes for working with clients, but it's something that your clients will likely find on their own. This is just my guess. And you want to be the person that maybe has that conversation with them first before they start getting that information elsewhere and maybe not think to ask you, the professional, about it.
Totally true. This is an opportunity for clients, for consumers. Right now, there is this new wave of consumer empowerment. The knowledge, the information, the strategies, the step-by-steps are all out there, and they're being produced by more and more savvy people. This content is being produced by more and more savvy content producers who frankly do a better job of telling the story than most real estate professionals, because I hate to admit it, most real estate professionals, they know their contracts back and forth, but they're shitty marketers. I'm sorry, I didn't know if I was supposed to swear, but I'm so fired up about this.
We'll allow it.
They're just, most real estate. I mean, let's look at most real estate agents, and I'm not talking about the top producers who have all of their stuff figured out perfectly. I'm talking about the other 90% of real estate agents, they have a pretty good knowledge base of the real estate industry, but they're crummy marketers because we're not marketers, we're real estate agents. And so most of us don't know how to produce this content to give our clients the education that they need. Well, guess who's stepping in and talking about Airbnb? Savvy marketers, savvy production people who are putting this information out there. It is up to real estate agents, and this is my call to action here on this particular tip. It is up to real estate agents in this moment and in this scenario to demonstrate your value to your clients in real and tangible ways. Don't wait for them to go to YouTube and learn about how they can produce income from a property they already own. You talk to them about that. You talk to them about the strategies they should be learning and they should be using, because guess what? You are their real estate advisor, not Johnny on the spot on YouTube who has no license, no liability, and absolutely no accountability if his advice is crap and it sends your client into financial ruin. I hope that doesn't happen, but you have the chance to step in and be the expert here. Airbnb is going to happen and it's going to boom in 2022. Get ahead of that right now.
And also, you really never want your clients to be your. Let's talk about buyers, for example. You don't want your buyer or seller, but certainly your client. You don't want them at a cocktail party talking to their friends. They just bought or sold something, and they said, I was going to do that, but my agent talked to me about this idea of house hacking or short-term rentals, and your client then goes, oh, really? I don't know what that means. Like, tell me about that. And then all of a sudden, they're now hearing it from a expert source. And so I would say, before you work with, especially with your buyers, definitely have that conversation before you go show them property. Say, hey, I know we're looking at a single family home in a suburban neighborhood that you guys are going to live at for the next 20 years. But just in case you're not familiar, are you aware of what, this idea of house hacking is? And I just want to make sure you're aware of it. And then, you guys can tell me if you want to learn more about it. But I would say that you'd be doing your clients a huge service so that they don't feel like, my agent never mentioned that. That sounds kind of cool. So anyway, little extra stuff there. Yeah. Before we get to our last topic, which is going to be about an article Chris recently published on The Close about 7 important lessons from top producers, I want to do a quick shout out to our beloved sponsor. We are so grateful to have Follow Up Boss supporting our show. But let me just tell you a little bit about Follow Up Boss. Now, after interviewing hundreds of top producers in the country, do you know which CRM is used by more of our guests than any other? Well, it's Follow Up Boss. And let's face it, following up is the key to taking your business to the next level. Follow Up Boss will help you drive more leads in less time with less effort. Don't take my word for it. Robert Slack, who runs the #1 team in the United States, uses Follow Up Boss, and he's built a $1.5 billion real estate business in 6 years. Follow Up Boss integrates with over 250 different systems. Also, this includes lead providers, so you can keep your current tools and those lead sources. Also, they have 7-day-a-week support, which we know is important as a realtor because your Saturdays and Sundays tend to be pretty busy for agents. And if you need to get that support, you can do that from them. And get this, Follow Up Boss is so sure you're going to love their CRM that for a limited time, they're offering Keeping It Real listeners a 30-day free trial. Now, this is twice as much time as they give every other person that signs up for a free trial. And oh yeah, no credit card required. Don't you love free trials without credit cards? And they're just so confident you're going to use them. They'll let you try it for 30 days and you're going to end up giving them your credit card because you love it so much. But only if you use the special link, which is followupboss.com/real. Again, followupboss.com/real. Visit there for your free 30-day trial. Follow up like a boss with Follow Up Boss. Thank you, Chris. Back to our show here. What are some of the lessons that you just recently spoke to some top producers? Big, and these are top producers that have been top producers for some time. So these are agents who didn't just ride some sort of wave in the last year since COVID has obviously propelled most realtors' business. These are people that have weathered some of these ups and downs. And so tell us a little bit about what you learned.
Yeah, definitely. I want to tease this a little bit. You definitely come to theclose.com. Check it out. There's an article, 7 important lessons new agents can learn from old school realtors. And there's a couple of insights I just want to share. But before I do, I just want to say, Follow Up Boss, I like you guys. I really am a big fan of especially of your reporting, your audit, your agent accountability, your collaboration tools. This is not a plug. Follow Up Boss is not paying me to say this. I genuinely like this about them, and so I just want to throw this out there. Follow Up Boss, call me, man. Send me a tweet or something. Let's talk a little bit because I'd like to look into what you guys are doing a little bit more. You're doing some cool stuff. Okay, so back to the important lessons. I talked to some top producers from across the country. I really just wanted to ask them, if you had a new agent sitting in your office and you could give them one piece of advice, what would you give them? And there's a couple of cool things that I heard. And the first one, honestly, it kind of everything kind of starts and ends with this particular piece of advice. It's from Eva Lynn, who is a broker in Pasadena. Um, she's got her own boutique brokerage there, and her advice is be obsessed with your client's experience.
Yeah.
And I just loved the words she chose here. Be obsessed with your client's experience. Don't just care about it. Don't just put it on a spreadsheet somewhere where you can check a box, yes or no, positive or negative. Be obsessed. Get up at night occasionally thinking about your client's experience. Because as real estate agents, we've made a commitment to put our clients' needs before our own, before others. We are their fiduciary here. We are shepherding them through some of the most financially important and impactful moments of their life. You should be obsessed with the experience that they are having with you. I really thought that was valuable, and it actually kind of led into another piece of advice. A guy named Link Mosier, who founded a real estate group called Experience Homes Group in New Hampshire. He told me that if he could give agents one piece of advice, it would be to base your business on relationships and not on technology. And these two pieces of advice felt so organic with one another because I'm going to be honest with you, I love technology. I love the tools. I love all the bells and whistles. I love platforms like, Follow Up Boss and all their automation and analytics tools and other CRMs and email marketers and predictive analytics. This is a table I eat at, and frankly, I cash my paychecks based on these guys. So I like all that stuff. But if you're basing your business on your tools and not on your relationships, you are only going to last so long. Businesses that are built on relationships last forever. These are the businesses you can hand down to the next generation. If you are building your business based on the Zillow Premier Agent or based on a particular CRM or on MailChimp, if that's your business, you only have so many transactions in you. But if you build your business based on relationships, your business lasts forever.
Yeah, it's so true. And just to for our listeners, obviously we know this, but I want you to think about how we absolutely know that this idea of authentic communication and authentic sort of vulnerability, which really we're talking about intimacy here. It's trying to build intimacy between you and your contacts, your clients. And here's some evidence that this is really super prominent now in at least American culture, which just look at the state of advertising. Advertising has finally figured out that what consumers want is authentic, intimate communication as best as possible between these big corporate, product and service providers. So you'll see it in the advertising. You see a lot more sort of less selling and more sort of connecting or trying to connect. The Super Bowl is a great example. Is ads tend to, which the Super Bowl is coming up in about 3 or 4 months, and you'll see a lot of funny ads and you'll see a lot of really very sort of intimate and vulnerable ads. And those are the ads that people talk about, are the funny ones and the vulnerable ones. So this is an opportunity for you to move not necessarily away from the technology, but to realize that personal phone call, which nobody does anymore, right? Phone calls, I mean, realtors still do, but this idea of picking up the phone and just checking in, seeing how your client or your previous client, call them on the home anniversary and say, hey, remember when we first saw this house? And then a year ago, you actually closed. That was a cool day. And hey, I have a picture of that day. Let me send it to you, right? These are some really fun opportunities that technology has a hard time replicating that you can step in and do yourself. I had one other point, Chris, I wanted to make about the client experience, which was the first tip that you had from Evelyn. That is, if you're thinking, well, how do I get obsessed about my client experience? My suggestion would be to find some realtors in your local market, especially if you're a new agent. And this advice is for, of course, all agents, but specifically the article is sort of tips from experienced producers to new agents. Find people that are experienced. And if it was me, I would grab a notebook and I would say, okay, there's 7 steps in the home buying process, or however many steps you've identified, and same thing with home selling. And I would talk to these experienced agents and say, what are the most common questions, concerns, and feelings that people hit on every one of these steps? And what do you recommend that I say to preemptively sort of address these, so that the client isn't laying at night worried about this and maybe embarrassed to ask me, or just doesn't think to ask me? Because if you're obsessed with your client experience, you're obsessed with what they're going through every step of the process. And so if you're new and you're like, I don't really know, well, of course you don't know. Ask people ask your managing broker, shadow somebody, but just sit and take some notes. And if you can know that, then when you hit those particular stages in a transaction, you can just literally follow the script that you've created and say, hey, at this step, a lot of my clients start to get a little nervous about X, Y, and Z, or they start to feel a certain way. And I want to just go through, and you can kind of go from there. But just having that conversation means you're obsessed with the client experience. And it kind of goes back to that same suggestion about telling your clients about Airbnb and house hacking. Like, if you're not doing it, they might be experiencing it on their own, and then you don't have control over how they experience it.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's honestly, this conversation starts and ends with this point here. There's a lot of other stuff we can talk about in between, and you should definitely check out the article. There's a lot of good information here from really cool people who are doing really cool stuff in their business. But at the end of the day, the best advice that old school agents have for new realtors is be obsessed with that client experience. Build your business around those relationships, and your business will last forever.
And I should mention too, we have a link to this article in the show notes, so feel free to find it there, or just visit theclose.com. But I will mention in this article, this is particularly interesting because Chris said that this article idea came from a conversation that Chris had with one of the Close Pro members, and it's a really good place to talk about what the Close Pro is and why our listeners should consider checking it out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are new to the Close, welcome. Come on over. Theclose.com. Super easy, but all sorts of great information there. Tons of content that's going to help you level up your real estate business. If you want to take that to the next level, you can check out the Close Pro. The Close Pro is our premium subscription service. It's $35 a month, or the equivalent of $25 a month if you go with the annual package. And with the Close Pro, you get this incredible resource library that is packed full of dozens of scripts and templates and long form strategy guides. You get access to all of our most popular courses, like 6 Simple Systems to Transform Your Real Estate Business. Our most recent course, which is extraordinarily popular, we're getting a ton of awesome feedback on our Facebook and Instagram crash course. Get in there, learn about Facebook and Instagram, figure out what you're doing wrong, get started all together. There's so much cool stuff. And this particular course is taught by 2 women, Sophia and Sarah, and these 2, their energy is literally so infectious. I watched the recording after they did this live, And I was pumped up just from the recording. I mean, there's just so much really high quality stuff happening in the Close Pro. $35 a month, you get access to all of this stuff. Come try it out for a month, or if you're ready to dive in, make that annual commitment. And we are adding new courses, new things to the resource library, and of course, on demand and live coaching sessions with me, with other real estate, other coaches that we've got at the Close Pro. There is so much happening there. So if you want to take your business and your close experience to the next level, come check us out on the Close Pro, and we can't wait to see you there.
Awesome. Well, everyone who is listening, if you are heading out to Triple Play on the East Coast or to the NAR conference in San Diego this November, definitely look up Chris. He is one of the speakers at both of those events, both those conferences. And I will also be roaming around as a participant like you, like our listeners. So if you want to meet me and say hi, I will be available as well. Just shoot us a message and we would both like to say hi to you. And on behalf of our listeners, and our viewers, I want to thank Chris as per usual. He's been with us for many years now, I think a couple at least, and he always brings amazing content to our show. We are super grateful. And clearly he provides great content because, again, he is speaking at 3 conferences here in the next month and a half or so. So we are super honored to also have him giving up his valuable time to be on our show. So thank you, Chris, as per usual, from myself and, of course, the rest of the audience. And on behalf of Chris and myself, we want to thank the audience for continuing to support The Close by visiting, subscribing to their newsletter, checking out The Close Pro, and just reading their articles. They're so incredibly good. They're really from my perspective as a marketer, they're the best sort of marketing, branding, and it's not just marketing and branding, but that is a good chunk of what they do is really designed around you building your business, and a lot about customer experience as well. They just write about everything that's important to know as a realtor, and they're really, I think, are really the best resource out there. And it's free. Like 99% of it is free. So go check it out. So on behalf of the audience, we thank Chris, and on behalf of Chris and myself, we thank the audience. And by the way, please also help support our sponsor, Follow Up Boss, by checking out that free trial. That is followupboss.com/real for your free 30-day trial, and check out theclose.com. And we will see everybody on the next episode. And if you are heading to NAR, just let us know. We'd like to say hi. So thanks, Chris.
You're welcome, DJ. I forgot to mention, I have a special offer that I wanted to throw out there. If you are interested in the Close Pro, we just got this set up. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it before. You can go to theclose.com/Chris, and you can get $50 off an annual membership. It'll give you some more information about the Close Pro. Close.com/Chris, CHRIS, $50 off an annual membership. This is something we want to do for you here at Keeping It Real, and anybody who comes and checks this stuff out, talk to me about it. Come use my promo code, get $50 off on me.
And that's like a month and a half free. So, or close to a month and a half free. So basically an even better deal. So yeah. And we will have that link in the show notes. But again, that's theclose.com/Chris for your $50 off annual membership. So check it out, guys. It's worth it. It just is. Awesome, Chris. Well, thanks so much. We thank everyone for listening and watching, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, TJ. See you soon.